You said that you had some ambivalence about going to law school, didn't know whether that was the right choice for you. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Well, you know, I thought law school would be interesting, but it seemed like a very conventional and safe choice, and I wasn't sure that's the way I wanted my life to begin. It was a very tumultuous time. We had, big demonstrations. We had a lot of, very serious concern in the school and at Yale University in general about what was happening in the world, and there were demonstrations of all kinds of protests and the like. And so it was confusing. I mean, it was a tough time. So I really struggled with that, and I looked at other job offers. I was interested in organizing, and particularly organizing around civil rights and poverty issues. I was very interested in the women's movement, which was really burgeoning, and I thought it would be a place where I would learn a lot. But in the end, I thought, well, if I go to law school, I will have sort of additional tools and skills that I can put to work in pursuit of anything that I care about. So I went to law school, but I didn't just go through 3 years of law school. I was and still am very interested in child development issues. So I took a whole year and I studied at the Yale Child Study Center, which was a great psychiatric facility for kids. And I worked at the Yale New Haven Hospital, and I did some of the early work on identifying and deciding what to do about child abuse cases. So I really continued my interests in advocacy and children's issues and how it all fit together. But I ended up going to and graduating from Yale. And I met my future husband in law school. I had started dating him, but I wasn't sure that was the right decision, that I would, because he was definitely going home to Arkansas. So all of that, since, you do spend a lot of your time thinking about, worrying about personal relationships. I ended up, after law school working for the Children's Defense Fund, which I loved. Marion Wright Edelman is one of my personal heroes. And then I went to work for the impeachment staff that was investigating Richard Nixon. And then when he resigned, I had to decide what to do, and that's when I took this big leap and said, okay, I'm going to go try to find out what Arkansas is like, and what it's like to live there. So I got a job teaching at the law school, and I just picked up and I moved to Fayetteville, Arkansas.
And when you married your husband, President Bill Clinton, I wondered whether you had any fear or anxiety. You were a woman with so many accomplishments and so many interests, and you were uniting with someone who was clearly headed towards the public eye in such a specific way. And did you have anxiety about that, about the concept of losing your own identity in the process of joining forces with someone who clearly had political ambitions?
I was terrified about losing my identity and getting lost in the kind of wake of Bill's force of nature personality. I actually turned him down twice when he asked me to marry him. We were in England on a trip after law school graduation. He asked me to marry him. I said, I can't say yes. No, I can't do that right now. And then about a year later, he asked me again, and I said, no. He said, well, I'm not asking you again until you're ready to say yes. And that was a large part of, the ambivalence and the worry that, I wouldn't necessarily know who I was or what I could do if I got married to someone who was going to chart a path that he was incredibly clear about. My ideas were much more inchoate. I wasn't sure how to best harness my energies, and so I was searching, and I wasn't quite sure how everything I cared about might fit into a marriage with him. And so eventually I said yes. It was a big leap of faith, and I think most marriages are. I mean, you really do just sort of say, okay, I think I know what it's going to be like, but I don't know for sure. Let's find out. And it was, it was great. We had, we were both teaching at that time. He had run for office in 1974, but he had lost. And so, we got married in the living room of the house we had bought. And I was excited about it, but still somewhat apprehensive. And then he did get elected to be Attorney General about a year after we were married. And we moved from where we were living in Fayetteville, Arkansas to Little Rock, Arkansas. And I switched gears to, practice law instead of teach law. So at every step along the way, I never could have predicted what I would have ended up doing. I mean, if somebody had said when I was 20 or 21, are you going to marry somebody from Arkansas? And you're going to teach law school at the university there, and you're going to move there, and that's where your daughter's going to be born. It would have never been in my mind. It's just not something that I had ever imagined. And I often tell young women who ask me about my life or my career, you just make the best decision you can at the time. Don't be reluctant to make decisions, and don't rush into them. I mean, give them some thought, and then finally you say to yourself, I think this is right for me. I'm going to go ahead and do it. And you just do the best you can. I have a piece of wood that there's a slogan on in our house in Westchester County which says, bloom where you're planted. And I've been in lots of different places where I've had to learn how to bloom. And it's been an incredible experience.